Okay, here's what, let's start with April. We've got, before we take the voting list, go to the voting list, let's take some concurrences, et cetera. So we're going to start with April. She's got 3. And then we'll just move to everybody. Then we'll go to the voting list after we do take care of these various concurrences, et cetera. Okay?
All right. Senate Bill 164, Natural Resources Pamela J. Kelly Tremendous Maryland Program Alterations. As a reminder, this is a departmental bill that alters the stated purpose of the Pamela J. Kelly Tremendous Maryland Program to include the stewardship in addition to planting of native trees and shrubs. The House amendments explicitly include the maintenance of native trees and shrubs as a program purpose. This amendment conforms the bill to House Bill 255 as unanimously passed by the Senate. To keep them identical, I would recommend that the committee concur.
Okay, do we have a motion to concur from somebody here? Okay, Senator Brooks moves to concur. Is there a second? Second from Senator Harris. All in favor of the motion concur? Raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries. Okay, April.
Senate Bill 266, Local Government Regulatory Powers, Regulation of Invasive Trees. This bill authorizes the governing body of a county or municipality to regulate through an ordinance trees of heaven and other invasive tree species. The House amendments make technical and clarifying changes which conform the bill to House 35 as unanimously passed by the Senate. Again, I would recommend that the committee concur.
Okay. Your motion?
Motion to concur.
Okay, Senator Brooks moved to concur. Second? Second from Senator Harris. Discussion? All in favor of the motion concur, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. April?
All right, last one from me. Senate Bill 553, Commission to Advance Lithium-Ion Battery Safety in Maryland, Reestablishment. This is the bill to reestablish the Commission to Advance Lithium-Ion Battery Safety in Maryland with a slightly altered membership and mission. The House amendments add a representative of the Maryland Turfgrass Council to the commission. Again, this committee already moved the House bill with that amendment clean, so I would recommend that the committee concur.
Okay, is there a motion to concur? From Senator Gallion. Okay, is there a second from Senator Carrozza? All in favor of the motion concur? Raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. We're just doing some concurrences, Senator Washington. We didn't do any voting on any bills yet. Okay, let's go to Devin next. Devin?
Senate Bill 192, Military Family Inclusion Act. This departmental bill alters the membership of the Maryland Commission on Caregiving, the Board of Trustees of the Maryland Veterans Trust, the Maryland Veterans Commission, and the Maryland Youth Advisory Council. The bill is identical now to House Bill 270 as it passed the Senate, and I recommend to concur.
Okay, hear a motion? Yeah. Before we do that, we're going to take questions. Senator Simoner.
So did they get the amendment on there to strike the voting portion?
They did.
Okay.
Okay, Senator Simoner. We good?
I'll move.
Okay, moves to concur. Is there a second? Senator Brooks. Discussion? All in favor of the motion to concur? Raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Okay, seeing none, that motion carries. Devin?
Senate Bill 581, Department of Information Technology, Statewide Information Technology Master Plan Reporting. This bill requires the Secretary of Information Technology to post the statewide Information Technology Master Plan publicly on the Department of Information Technology's website within 1 year after the date the governor is inaugurated in each gubernatorial term. The bill is identical to House Bill 861 as it passed the Senate. I recommend to concur. Senate Bill 581 by Senator Jennings.
Okay, so Jennings bill. Okay, any questions for Devin? Any motions? Move to concur from Senator Simoner. Second, Senator Harris. Okay, all in favor? Motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, last thing, Devin.
House Bill 1532, Utility Relief for All Marylanders. This bill makes significant changes to energy policy and rate relief to provide substantial benefits back to Maryland citizens. The House did not concur with the Senate amendments and has appointed a conference committee to reconcile the differences. I recommend to not recede and to appoint a conference committee.
Okay. Who would like to move not to recede so we can appoint a conference committee on this piece of small piece of legislation? Okay, Senator.
Please.
I'm sorry.
15, House Bill 15.
50, House Bill 1532. Okay, Senator Brooke? Absolutely.
So there's, news reports out about the compromise or whatever's been reached by the leadership. We're talking about the energy bill now, right? So I think that, can you just kind of fill us in where we are with all this and who, I mean, some of us were kind of caught off guard to read something on the online paper this morning, not really get any kind of heads up or know what's going on with it, with the biggest piece of legislation we've done in this committee since Kerwin. So could we kind of get a full view of what's going on there and whatever this compromise is, how much savings can be expected for our ratepayers?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I mean, I know we've participated in various conference committees. Some of the conversations are a little more informal. And then ultimately, though, there has to be a formal conference committee and a conference committee report, which has not been finalized. And therefore, I will have to get up on the floor and present a conference committee report, and people are going to have to be able to answer me, ask questions, and, that's the process. So I'm with you. I think whatever reporters were writing this, that, and the other was super premature. I mean, just for where I sit, until there's a document in front of us on the floor, and I'm going to field questions about what we did, what, differences. To me, nothing's happened. Right now, as a formal matter, we want to appoint a conference committee. We're not concurring with the House amendments, so so they asked us to recede. We're not doing that. So there's a little bit of a formal process we have to go through. But from where I sit, until we're on the floor with an actual written document signed by a majority of the conferees, I don't think anything's in front of us. So that said, I mean, obviously there's been some back and forth for the last week about trying to come up with something, but nothing is final until it's final. And, that's basically how, generally works. I mean, I think people have this vision that people are sitting around for a week in a conference room. The reality is we're here in committee and on the floor, so it doesn't lend itself that easily to that, kind of format. And so, there's back and forth. You know what the House product was. You know what the Senate product. There were differences. We took some amendments that were not on their bill, and that's where we're at. I mean, I anticipate, in all candor, that we're going to come up with some agreement, but it has to be, put in a document that everybody understands. That has to be, pretty much drafted up. And at that point, then that's kind of where we're at. But I can't say we're far apart. I think we're close to coming to some agreement, but we're not 100% there. Otherwise, there would be a document out on the floor already. I mean, Devin.
No, I haven't. I have no document. I have seen nothing with regard to any conference committee or any kind of agreements or even really amendments. What I have seen are things that have been agreed on, and then a whole slew of things that have not been agreed on yet. And that's all I actually know as the counsel for this committee. I haven't seen anything.
Okay, we have a hard deadline, Monday at 11:59. So I'm hoping that between now and 11:59, I'll be able to get on the floor and we can discuss this a little more. But until then, that's where we're at. Right now, we have to appoint a conference committee in a formal way and not recede.
So move not to recede, Mr. Chair.
Correct. So the motion is not to recede and request the appointment of conference committee, and that is the motion. Is there a second from Senator Harris? All in favor? Unless you want to adopt, the House product. Okay, that motion carries. Okay, anything else on that front? That's pretty much where we're at. Okay, let's go to Stacy now. Yeah, sure.
Can I go back to that? We just went Senate Bill 192, we concurred, and it was stated the amendments were the same. I'm looking at the amendments, I don't see them being the same. So can we hold off on that concur, because that is not.
Sure, yep.
Let's strike that motion to concur to make sure exactly. Okay, that's fair. We good?
Yep.
Everybody good with that? Pulling back that motion to concur so we can double check and make sure, that what was said is accurate, okay? And what number?
192.
Okay, House Bill 192. Senate Bill 192, Senate Bill 192. Yeah, okay. Okay, Stacy, let's go to you on some concurrences, et cetera.
Sure.
Senate Bill 11, campaign finance reporting deadline, and fair campaign financing fund distributions. If you recall, this bill alters the earliest date on which distributions from the fair campaign financing fund may be made to candidates for the governor and lieutenant governor participating in the public financing program, and aligns a campaign finance reporting deadline with the federal filing deadline. The House amendments make a technical change that makes it identical to HB 260 as passed by the Senate. The recommendation is to concur.
Okay, the vice chair moves to concur. Is there a second? Second, Senator Brooks. Discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Stacy?
Senate Bill 159, emergency medical services, vehicles, and ambulances, required supplies. If you recall, this bill requires the executive director of MEMS to coordinate the minimum equipment, supplies, and medication, including those for neonatal care, to available EMS vehicles with the federal, state, and county governments. The House amendments require that coordination to be with the jurisdictional emergency medical services operating program, and expands the review of the minimum equipment, supplies, and medication for early childhood to include early childhood care, including neonatal care. There's a little bit of a twist here. I was contacted by the sponsor's office. The executive director of MEANS wants to make a technical correction. He says that there are many jurisdictional emergency medical services operating programs, not one. And so he would like to change the language to take out the and make programs. I've contacted counsel in the House, and they're amenable to that. So the recommendation would be to not concur and to appoint a conference committee.
Okay, we've got Senator Gallion moving to not concur. We've got the vice chair seconding that. Any questions, discussion? All in favor of that motion to not concur, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Stacy?
I think I clipped two together. Okay. Oh, yeah, here, sorry. SB 509, Higher Education Workforce Pell Grant Program Implementation. This bill generally implements the Workforce Pell Grant Program in the state, by which federal Pell Grants may be awarded to students enrolled in short-term programs that help prepare students for careers. The House amendments strike the prohibition on disallowing paid incentive compensation or tuition sharing by a contracting entity, institution, or organization with post-secondary institutions operating a qualifying short-term program. The recommendation is to concur with the House amendment.
Okay, the vice chair moves to concur. Is there a second? Second, Senator Brooks. Discussion? All in favor of the motion concur, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Okay, Stacy?
SB 670, Election Law Authority at Polling Places Revisions. This bill provides certain authority to the state administrator, a local election director, and/or the designees of both in a polling place that is similar to existing authority of election judges, including the authority to keep the peace and order the arrest of any person who breaches the peace or any provision of the election law article. The bill also alters provisions that govern the designation rights and actions of challengers and watchers. The House amendments make various changes to the authorities authorized to keep the peace or order and arrest while serving at a polling place, and make a technical change to provisions of law that allow the specified persons to designate observers at counting centers. You should note in your voting packet that there are amendments from Delegate Jones to conform that House bill before you with the Senate bill as passed by the House, and the recommendation is to concur with those amendments.
Let's go to Senator Carrozza for questions first.
In your
And then I think Senator
description, you
Vice-
said that there's
Okay, come on.
changes in the authority.
Right. For example, where this committee passed out, it said that the state administrator and their designee, or a local election director and their designee, the House struck the designees of both and added the deputy administrator. So they made slight changes in that regard.
Okay.
Okay, Vice Chair Kagan, you've got
Yeah,
some information on
Stacy
this.
said it spot on, and we were in touch with Delegate Jones, and we're fine with the House version.
by striking designee, which was a little bit more open, this is more specific, which would address some of the questions about not everybody having that broad authority.
So there never was the not everybody. They still had to be trained. It wasn't just random person on the street. But this does make it specifically just the deputy person,
As opposed to a designee.
as opposed to
Okay.
a designee. So the deputy will also be a trained person.
Okay, additional questions? Okay, you moved to concur?
I did.
And was there a second? Can't recall. Okay, Senator Harris seconds. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Stacy?
Last one, Senate Bill 848, Municipal Elections, Reporting of Information to the State Board of Elections Requirements. This bill requires a municipality to submit specified information about regular municipal elections and special municipal elections to the State Board of Elections at specified times for posting on the State Board's website. The House amendments make SB 848 identical to HB 1448 as passed by the Senate. The recommendation is to concur.
Okay, questions for Stacy? Okay, Vice Chair? Vice Chair moves to concur. Is there a second? Second from Senator Harris. For Senator Gallions, the second? Yeah, correct. Thanks for that catch. Senator Gallions, the second. Okay, all in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Is that the extent?
That's the end of my
Okay.
concurrences.
Okay, so with that, let's go to our voting list. Our voting lists continue to get shorter. And we're going to start with House Bill 3. Stacy?
House Bill 3, Higher Education Non-Resident Tuition Exemption for Dependents of State or Local Public Safety Employees, the Maryland Fallen Heroes Tuition Benefits Act. This bill requires that notwithstanding the state or county in which a child resides, a financially dependent child of a state or local public safety employee who dies as a result of or in the course of performance of duties is exempt from paying out-of-state or out-of-county tuition at a public institution of higher education in the state. The Maryland Higher Education Commission must adopt regulations to implement the bill. There are amendments offered by the chair on page 3 of your packet with the reprint on page 11. You'll notice these are substantial. The First Amendment adds spouses to the bill, which conform it to SB 12 as passed by this committee. So the Second Amendment alters the method for allocating funds for the Edward T. and Mary A. Conroy Memorial Scholarship and the Jean B. Cryer Memorial Scholarship Program. It requires the allocation to be based on a formula determined by the Maryland Higher Education Commission that may include prior year enrollment, eligible recipients, and institutional tuition and fees. It clarifies that the allocation of funds is subject to the availability of funds as provided in the state budget, and each institution may award to eligible students subject to the allocation of funds from the commission. Awarding authorities must give priority to recipients of scholarship before awarding funds to new applicants, subject to the recipient's continued eligibility and the availability of funds. Do you want me to give a little background on this?
I think that'd be helpful.
So earlier this session, it was discovered that MHEC was interpreting the existing language in statute to make this, what do they call it, I just lost the word, an entitlement program. So whoever was eligible, they were providing funds for, even if the allocation was not, there was insufficient allocation for all of those people who are eligible, because it's a decentralized scholarship. So the institutions determine eligibility, they send the money, they send that to MHEC, who acts as the bank, and then MHEC gives the money back to the institutions. So unfortunately, they were outspending the allocation of the program and were getting way beyond what was provided in the state budget in earlier years. It was determined that because this bill was related to this subject, that this would be a perfect time to make a fix for this. All of the segments in higher education have agreed to this language and agreed to the formula that has been determined between MHEC and the governor's office, who've been helpful in making this happen. So what this essentially would do is clarify language in the statute that they can't spend more money than what's allocated in the state budget, so it's not interpreted as an entitlement program anymore, and that each institution will get a certain allocation of the funds as provided in the formula.
There's a lot there, but I think this is largely a consensus decision to make a fix through this vehicle and then maintain the integrity of everything we're trying to achieve here. But there is a fair amount there. Any questions for Stacy? Okay. So the motion is to, I apologize, I'm back on concurrence world. Okay, any questions on those amendments? Okay, yes. Senator Harris moves those amendments. Is there a second? Okay, Senator Brooks. Okay, discussion, questions? All in favor of the amendments, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. We have House Bill 3 as amended. Senator Harris moves the bill as amended. Yeah. Well, here, let's take a second from the vice chair. Now we have it.
Sure, take a second.
Okay, second from Sal. Okay, you had a question and a second, so, okay, he gets the second and he gets a question.
Okay, House Bill 3.
House Bill 3.
Make sure I'm on the right one.
Yeah, House Bill 3.
So I get it, they're making sure they have enough money, but then they also prioritize them?
Yes, so if you have already been awarded a scholarship, you go to the front of the line in terms of funding. So if, there's 25 people who qualify and 15 of those people already have a scholarship from the previous year, they automatically go to the top of the pool.
Okay.
Additional questions for Stacy, again, on the amendment to House Bill 3? Okay, we have HB 3 as amended in front of us. Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Let's go to House Bill 6, Delegate Kerr. Stacy?
House Bill 6, Public Institutions of Higher Education, Pregnant and Parenting Students, Plan and Reporting. This bill requires the Maryland Higher Education Commission to collect data from every public institution of higher education on the parental status of enrolled students. Each public institution must place questions developed under the bill on one or more demographic data collection forms and report the data to MHEC as specified. By September 1, 2027 and annually thereafter, MHEC must report the data to specified committees of the General Assembly, and the bill also expands the definition of pregnant and parenting student and extends existing requirements to adopt a plan for pregnant and parenting students under the Pregnant and Parenting Student Support Act to encompass community colleges as well as all public four-year institutions. In addition, the bill alters the definition of student data to authorize MHEC to share certain data with the Maryland Longitudinal Data System. This definition is expanded to include parental status but excludes pregnancy status. The bill extends the existing posting deadline, which applies to all affected institutions under the bill, by 2 months to October 1, 2026. There is an amendment in the packet, and that amendment would conform the bill to SB 420 as passed by this committee and the Senate. This was held yesterday.
Yes, are you we finished on the description? Yes, Senator Washington.
So I would not like that amendment. I'd like the bill to stay as it is. The way it didn't come in, they came in, they were cross files, but they sort of came in, they weren't linked. And so my conversations with CARE as well as the vice chair of appropriations, our preference is to keep this the way it is and that the Senate bill will be conformed to the House bill.
Okay, do you have any information about the back and forth here?
I will just say,
No, I understand.
And
Okay.
we kind of defer.
Okay.
I'm just explaining to the committee what the choices were as a reminder of what the decisions were made by this committee last time.
Okay.
Last time, the decision was that the reporting requirement to the Maryland General Assembly would need a one-year report instead of ongoing, because no one could determine what the General Assembly would do with that information every single year. It was determined that some of the questions felt a little too prescriptive and intrusive, and that that was part of the concern. And then this strips out, there was a provision in the, under the Pregnant and Parenting Student Support Act that expanded it beyond the four-year institutions. USM institutions had concerns because they don't have health centers, and so certain institutions were exempt from that act and were taken out of the bill by the Maryland General Assembly previously, and then it also adds in community colleges. So there was some concerns about how some of this information was in the bill, and the committee keeps getting emails, especially from the USM institutions specifically, about putting in all of like University of Maryland Global Campus, UMES, and some of these institutions that just don't do the things that would be required of this particular bill. That was the reason that the committee made its changes, as a reminder to the committee.
Okay.
The amendment, there's an amendment on page 16 with a reprint on page 18, and that amendment would put it in the same posture as passed by the Senate.
Okay.
The Senate bill as passed by the Senate.
Okay, so just to clarify, Senator Washington, I just want to clarify your position. So you don't want this to be conformed with the bill that we already passed? That is.
Go to conference committee, that if we do what we're going to do, we're going to go to conference committee, and it may or may not conform. I mean, so I agree with I agree with the House version. I'm not going to vote for an amendment to conform it to the Senate bill. If we do that, again, we'll go to conference committee because the House is going to send ours back, conform to the House bill, and then we have to send it back. So I understand the deliberation. If it's and I understand this, really these bills aren't our bills, but sometimes we do often, very often defer to the sponsors. And so I agree with the House version. If the committee feels strongly, conform it to the Senate version, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, anybody else want to weigh in? Madam Vice Chair?
Thank you. I'm getting a little confused, and so maybe I'm just, so the way we passed your bill, Senator Washington, it appears that mostly all of us voted for it in committee and in the floor. What I understand legal counsel saying is that this amendment would conform the House bill to precisely what we all voted for and supported in the Senate version. Is that right, Stacy?
Yes.
Okay. And now you're saying that that's not what you want?
So that is not at all unusual. I mean, we're dealing with
Sure.
an energy bill. I mean, we deal with this all the time. And so in negotiating and having conversation with my cross-file, as well as the vice chair, Ann Kaiser of the committee, that the one thing very much so wanting the bill, wanting there to be an annual accounting of it, to just have a one-time, point-in-time count seems, they very much want to have multiple years. I agree with that. I also agree with having the additional information. Again, I will say, if the members of the committee feel that they want to stick with the version that we passed and not take into consideration the desires of our colleagues across the way, then we'll stick it and we'll have a conference committee and hopefully we'll come up with something. So, I mean, that's where we are. That's all I'm saying. So,
No, everybody, I
Yeah.
think now we understand. Okay, it's a little, you would acknowledge it's a little unusual because, but not that unusual. Okay, I know where we're at.
Okay.
We understand where we're at. Okay, but Madam Vice Chair?
Mr. Chair, I worry that as we are running out of time and we still have a great number of bills, I worry that sometimes, what I used to say, that the late President Miller tried parroting me one time. Anyway, perfect is the enemy of the good. And I wonder whether there isn't a wisdom to moving forward with this to make sure that we don't run out of time and then end up with no data on pregnant and parenting students. And so my instinct would be to follow legal counsel's guidance to conform the House bill to the Senate version that the body already overwhelmingly approved. And then if there's time, or if there's next year or something, if we want more data, we can take a look and come back to it. But I really think this is an important bill that you and Delegate Kerr have sponsored, and I would like it to see it signed into law by the governor.
Well, you're not going to see this, if we conform it, we're not going to see this in this, we will not see the bill as passed by the Senate in being sent to the governor, because as I already said, that our bill, the Senate bill will be voted by the House committee to conform to the House bill. So what we are doing is we will be voting to conform the House bill to the Senate bill. They will vote to conform the Senate bill to the House bill, and we will either concur or not concur. And if we don't concur, we will have a conference committee where we will deliberate or not deliberate, and then it could just die.
Okay, anybody else want to weigh in on this? Senator Carrozza?
Can't we just pass House Bill 06 as it came over? Just pass it? That's what you want to, so it's on the voting list. We can pass it as is, right?
That's my.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody
The only
else wanna weigh-
recommendation I would be is to take out those institutions that don't. For example, University of Maryland Global Campus, there's no reason to know because they're an online university.
But there are people who are parenting. But, Mr. Chair, there are people who are parenting. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think the view of that college education and people who are engaged in college education are just sitting in classrooms or just in the traditional, they are part of the system.
Okay,
And so that's why they wanted this.
Okay, how about this? Because I think, yes, Senator Harris, feel free to weigh in on this.
No, I was going to say, so the University of Maryland Global Campus piece, because I remember doing a bill for this like 2 years ago, and we had to take them out as well of one of our bills because not everyone lives in Maryland, right? So they're all across the nation, right? And some people might be in the military doing stuff in other countries. So I'm just wondering, what's the goal here? Is it to pull the data for Mariners, or is it to pull the data for every single person across the globe for?
Okay. Here, can I suggest something? We did this yesterday with one other bill. Can we go through the rest of the list and then let's come back to this? Because there are other bills people are working on. We're going to come back to this, but I'd like to get through the rest of the list, and then we're going to come back to HB 6, and we'll talk this out and come to a determination how we want to proceed. So with that, Stacy, let's go just to House Bill 319, and then we'll just keep going here, and then we'll come back to HB 6.
House Bill 319, County Boards of Education, Student Transportation, Sunset Repeal and Study. I don't want to go through the whole thing since we did this yesterday, but the bill repeals the sunset provisions of Chapter 197 and 198 of 2021, which authorize a county board of education to provide transportation for specified public school students to and from school using a vehicle other than a Type 1 or Type 2 school vehicle, which is a school bus, when a school vehicle cannot reasonably be used. The bill also requires the Maryland State Department of Education to review regulations relating to transportation of students in a vehicle other than a Type 1 or Type 2 school vehicle as specified and report to the EEE and the House Ways and Means Committee by January 1, 27. Senator Watson had offered an amendment. It's on page 24. You'll see it is just encompassed in the Senate bill. And the amendment, his amendment would authorize a county board to contract with a transportation network company that does not meet certain standards adopted by MSD in regulation to transport not more than 2 students at a time if the driver meets specified requirements. These provisions will be terminated if MSD adopts regulations following the regulatory review required under the regulations review amendment.
Okay, so we have the, beyond the Watson amendment, are there other, is that the main,
Yes.
That's, okay, Senator Watson, we had started the conversation yesterday about your amendment, and then you weren't here, so that's one of the reasons we held it, because I think there was some back and forth on the amendment, so.
Yeah, you're very kind. Let me just say one thing. It does kind of throw you off. It says the county board may contract with a transportation network company that does not meet the standards established. That's the current standards. However, it goes forward and says it must meet the standards established by the PSC, submit to the background checks, fingerprinting, criminal records, and all the other things. And I was talking to Stacy, before we got to the bill, trying to understand where the amendment falls short. The whole purpose of the amendment was to allow, say, a rideshare company to be able to participate in this type of transportation of students and following the existing guidelines and allow no more than 2 students in a vehicle. And I know just from my own family, if my nieces or nephews miss the bus, they call an Uber and it drops them off at school. And so, I'd like, Stacy to kind of comment on where we're missing the boat with this amendment and ensuring that if a company goes through this, a ride share, they are going to be able to satisfy all the existing requirements that any other transportation company does.
It's quite different for your nieces to call a ride share from your home. They are not a county board of education, and there's no liability that flows to a school system for that to happen. This is when a school system contracts with certain drivers to transport students on a regular basis. That is the concern here. And the concern is that when they do those contractual, the bus drivers, or not the drivers, the operators of the vehicles must meet certain requirements. Currently, rideshare drivers under regulations from the PSC do not meet those same standards. And so if they were to have that, they would have to meet the additional standards as put forth in your amendment, including they would have to get a background check as it conforms to other school employees. In the education article, they'd have to get a fingerprint-based state and national criminal history records check, which they're not required to do to become a rideshare driver. They have to use a certain vehicle, and they have to meet any other requirements established by a county board. The concern that the counties have expressed is that this overrides the regulations, and it says they may contract with already without meeting additional requirements that the state board put in place for liability and other types of concerns.
Okay, Senator Carozza, you had expressed some reservations about the amendment or previous.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with the committee that the House sponsor, who's in my Eastern Shore delegation, and I actually have participated in meetings specifically, on these transportation issues. So this is a priority bill. When I talked to her, about, the amendment, she, thought that what the House Ways and Means Committee did, which, as I understand it, put in an amendment to study this for a year. The House bill's been amended to include that. She thought that was a very fair approach and also would keep the bill moving. So I just want to express that, I'm supporting this bill with that House amendment in it for the study, but I'm, concerned about the Watson amendment and that it would, the back and forth on this could jeopardize this bill, and this is a priority bill that I'm supporting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, before we do that, Senator Hester, you had your light on, and then we'll go to Senator Watson.
I was just trying to understand something that Stacy said. Are the counties currently contracting with rideshare companies with no guardrails whatsoever? Because that kind of freaks me out.
No, there are guardrails, but they put those in place. They make that decision. They have to meet the standards. But they generally don't use rideshare. There's a report that was in your testimony provided with the bill that basically shows that most counties have specific drivers, and that they have specific vehicles all set up for these kind of things, like special vans that are just smaller than regular school vehicles. They can contract with rideshare drivers, but they're very specific about what they do, and they try to find very specific drivers who meet those standards. The concern is that they want to be consulted in the process, and that was what was told to me, is they want to be consulted in the process, and this kind of leapfrogs that.
Okay, now we'll go to Senator Watson, sponsor the amendment.
Stacy, let me refer you to page 26,
Yep.
line 21. Right? All right, so after company, if we struck that does not and replaced it with provided it meets, does that relieve us of the issue that it has to meet all the existing requirements? With the transportation network company, provided it meets the standards established by the department under paragraph and everything else.
Well, I can't answer that specifically because I don't know exactly what is in the regulations as compared to what is in the amendment. So I can't answer that specifically.
Okay, any additional questions for Stacy on the Watson amendment? Okay, well, I think on this one, the only way I could say is we have to take a roll call on the Watson amendment. If the senator moves the amendment and there's a second, we would have to take a roll call. I think that's
All right. Well,
it's up to the senator, the sponsor.
Yeah, let me move the amendment. We'll see what happens.
Okay, Senator Watson moved the amendment. Is there a second? Okay, Senator Harris moves that amendment. Let's take a roll call then.
All right, Senator Kagan?
This is on the amendment. No.
Senator Kagan, no. Senator Hester? No. Senator Hester, no. Senator Gallion? No. Senator Gallion, no. Senator Watson? Yes. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Harris? No. Senator Harris, no. Senator Brooks? No. Senator Brooks, no. Senator Carozza? No. Senator Carozza, no. Senator Washington? Yes. Senator Washington, yes. Senator Simonaire? No. Senator Simonaire passes, and Senator Feldman?
Well, motion fails before it gets to me. Yeah, so, okay, we now back to the bill. We've got House Bill 319 with no amendment on it. Are there any additional amendments being offered? Okay. Who's moving the bill? Senator Watson moves the bill. Senator Gallion, second. Okay. All in favor, House Bill 319 as is, raise your hand. The motion carries unanimously. Okay, House Bill 396.
House Bill 396, Residential Child Care Programs, Education of Children, and Training of Child and Youth Care Practitioners. This bill requires a licensed operator of a residential child care program that receives state funding and has legal custody or care and control of a child who is at least 5 years old to provide specified educational opportunities to the child. The bill also establishes requirements for training programs for residential child and youth care practitioners approved by the State Board for the certification of residential child care program professionals. An individual who holds a certificate as a residential child and youth care practitioner on July 1, 2026, may not be required to complete any training required by the bill that the individual has already completed and any new training program required by the bill until the individual's certificate is due for renewal. There is one amendment offered by Senator Brooks in your packet, and that's on page 29, and that would change the effective date to January 1, 2027.
Okay, Senator Brooks? Yeah, move the amendment. Okay, we got a vote. Yeah, we'll take questions.
Yeah, I just wonder if Senator Brooks could explain the reason for the modified.
Yeah, they wanted to extend that by.
Put your mic on.
Yeah, they wanted to extend it by six months, just in order so they can carry out the program.
Appreciate it. Thank
Okay,
you.
sure.
Okay, any additional questions? Again, just on the Brooks amendment? Okay, Senator Brooks, you moved the amendment?
Move the amendment,
Is there a
yes.
second? Second from the vice chair. Okay, discussion. All in favor of the Brooks amendment, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. We have House Bill 396 as amended. Senator Brooks moves the bill as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from the vice chair. Discussion, questions? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor of House Bill 396 as amended, raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Senator Washington, anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, let's go to next page. House Bill 613, Delegate Morgan, April.
Skip 575?
Oh, I'm sorry. So on the Wilkins bill, yeah, I apologize. On Chair Wilkins' bill, we have some amendments that we need to put on the bill, but we didn't have time. Stacy is, got some amendments she's drafting, but doesn't have them yet. So we're going to have to hold the Wilkins bill until such time as we have the amendments in hand. Okay. So we're going to now go to House Bill 613.
House Bill 613, Department of the Environment, waivers for living shorelines and non-structural shoreline stabilization measures, regulations, and scoring system. This bill was on the voting list yesterday, but was held. As a reminder, the bill makes existing provisions requiring improvements to protect the shoreline against erosion to generally consist of non-structural shoreline stabilization measures, to also expressly apply to living shorelines, which, as defined by the bill, include the use of natural elements and certain structural elements as specified. There are two amendments in your voting packet. The first is on page 30 with the reprint starting on page 31 from Senator Bailey. This amendment alters the definition of a living shoreline, allows property owners to agree to a time for the Department of the Environment to visit, to inspect a site outside of the 45 days generally required under the bill, and requires local soil conservation districts that wish to make recommendations on a waiver request to do so within 15 days after receiving written notice from MDE. Additionally, there is another amendment on page 40 of the voting packet with the reprint starting on page 41 from Delegate Morgan, which specifies that structural elements would only be used in a living shoreline where appropriate, and requires the Department of the Environment to consult with a licensed marine contractor when developing the scoring system.
Okay, April, so Senator Bailey had suggested that this packet set of amendments collectively address a lot of the various stakeholders' concerns, and I will say kumbaya kind of, is that
Correct.
your understanding?
That is my understanding.
Okay. Okay, so with that, we have a motion from Senator Gallion to move those amendments. Is there a second? Second. Second from Senator Brooks.
I'm okay with doing two at once.
Yeah, right, we do have, you mean two bills? Yeah, is everybody okay, does anybody want to separate out the Bailey amendment with the Morgan amendment, or can we take it collectively? Okay, okay, I would suggest we just vote it up or down. So this is both the Morgan amendment and the Bailey amendment collectively. Okay, so we have the motion from Senator Gallion, second, Senator Washington. All in favor of those amendments, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We now have House Bill 613 as amended before us. Is there a motion? Senator Gallion? Okay, Senator Gallion moves the bill. Senator Brooks is the second. All in favor of House Bill 613 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Stacy, let's go to House Bill 828.
House Bill 828, State Board of Education Membership, Educational Support Member. As introduced, this bill alters the membership of the Maryland State Board of Education by requiring that one member be an educational support professional. There are amendments in your packet. You can find them on page 50 and the reprint on page 52. This amendment authorizes the governor to appoint as a member of the State Board of Education an individual who is an employee of a county board of education that is not the teacher member of the state board. It prohibits the county employee from being a county superintendent. It limits the number of members of the state board to 2 members at any given time, including the teacher member, who are employees of a county board of education. And it prohibits the member who is an employee of a county board who has a certain classification from voting on certain appeals taken to the state board.
Okay, so we've got an amendment in front of us. The vice chair moves that amendment. Is there a second? Second from Senator Brooks. Any discussion or conversation about the amendment? Okay, all in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that carries. House Bill 828 as amended is before us, and before we take a vote, we'll take a question from the Vice Chair.
Stacy, this amendment then, it conforms to the way the House, no, it doesn't.
No, this is only a House bill, so these are consensus amendments. The concern is that the state board getting expanded by adding new
Yes.
members.
Yes.
And so this would allow the governor to appoint a member, if they so choose, that was also a county, employee of a county board.
Perfect, okay. Thank you. Move the bill as amended.
Yeah. Okay, we had a motion and a second. Okay, all in favor of House Bill 828 as amended, raise your hand. Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Let's go to House Bill 852. Stacy.
House Bill 852, Higher Education Scholarships for Correctional Officers. This bill expands eligibility for the Maryland Police Officers and Probation Agents Scholarship Program to include correctional officers and renames the program accordingly. Correctional officers are subject to the same eligibility requirements and service obligation requirements established under current law for police officers and probation agents. The bill also expands scholarship eligibility to include individuals enrolled in a certificate program. I believe this is identical to the Senate bill. I don't remember the number, I apologize. This comes from JPR, their primary, and the JPR committee voted unanimously in favor of this bill.
Okay, so we're second on this. JPR has already voted this bill in this form. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, right now we have House Bill 852 in front of us from JPR. Okay, any discussion? Do we have a favorable motion? I moved it. Yeah, Senator Carozza moved it. Second from, okay, Senator Gallion. All in favor of House Bill 852, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Okay, we don't have to do Senate bill. House Bill 894, and this is another one Finance has sent us. We're second. April?
House Bill 894, Land Use Transit-Oriented Development Alterations, Maryland Transit and Housing Opportunity Act. This is an administration bill that is a cross-file of a bill that has already passed the Senate. This is, again, we are secondary on this bill. Finance is primary. Administration bill makes several changes to state law relating to transit-oriented development, including one allowing for automatic designation of certain transit-oriented developments as enterprise zones at the discretion of the applicable local government or multi-county agency. Two, establishing a priority and a scoring preference under existing state grant and loan programs. Three, prohibiting local jurisdictions from imposing certain land use limitations or requirements on development near specified rail transit stations. And four, subject to a contingency, prohibiting the collection of local development impact fees or excise taxes from certain transit-oriented development before construction is completed. In general, the only sort of substantive difference between this bill, the House bill, as amended, sorry, back up a little bit. The reprint of the bill as amended by the Finance Committee is in your voting packet, starting on page 57. As it came over from the House, the bill was largely identical to Senate Bill 389 as it came out of the Senate. The one substantive difference is on page 72 of the voting packet. The House included language that is going to look familiar because it was also included in the Housing Certainty Act, exempting development excise taxes and fees that are imposed to finance a county debt that was incurred on or before January 1st, 2026, from those limitations on when those taxes and fees can be collected. That stays in the bill. The other difference in the bill, which we'll see has actually been taken out by the Senate Finance Committee. The House kept in the bill as it came in, includes a preference for projects that use project labor agreements. That was in the House bill. The Senate Finance Committee amendments are taking that out. And then also the Senate Finance Committee amendments are making some minor technical changes to the language, but the House is also doing that on the Senate bill. For what it's worth, the vote in the Senate Finance Committee was unanimous. The House and the Senate are largely in agreement, except on the subject of the project labor agreements.
Okay, so again, we're second, and so my strong suggestion is we have in front of us what the Finance Committee unanimously sent us. I would suggest we not mess, it's a pretty important bill, and so with that, what we have in front of us is as it was passed by the Finance Committee to us. So any discussion, questions? Okay, I have a favorable motion from the Vice Chair.
Favorable with amendments.
With amendment, yes, with amendments. Is there a second? Okay, Senator Brooks, discussion? Okay, all in favor of the favorable motion with amendments, let's just, since there's second, we can do it together. Raise your hand. Okay, anybody opposed to the bill? Got Senator Gallion and Senator Carrozza. So the motion does carry. Okay, let's move on to Deb. Back, we'll get you involved here, Devin. House Bill 896.
It's not necessary. House Bill 896, Military Department National Guard State Active Duty Mobilization Fund. The committee heard this bill yesterday. This departmental bill establishes the National Guard State Active Duty Mobilization Fund as a special non-lapsing fund administered by the Office of the Adjutant General within the Military Department. The purpose of the fund is to pay for personnel and equipment for state active duty mobilization of the National Guard, as ordered by the governor. The bill takes effect July 1, 2026, and there are no amendments.
Okay, any questions for Devin? Okay, Senator Brooks moves the bill. Senator Carrozza second. We have House Bill 896 clean with no amendments. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Stacy, let's get you back. House Bill 1001.
Okay, try to make this easy. HB 1001, Election Law Authority at Polling Places Revisions. This is the cross-file to SB 670, which this committee just concurred with the House amendments on. In your packet on page 74, with a reprint on page 76, is an amendment offered by Delegate Jones, and this amendment authorizes the state and deputy state administrator or local election directors to keep the peace in a polling place and to order the arrest of a person who breaches the peace or violates a provision of the election law article, provides only the local election director versus local board employee while in a polling place must protect challengers or watchers in the exercise of their rights, and makes a technical change regarding the person that may designate observers at counting centers. If the committee adopts this amendment, then both bills will be identical.
Adoption of the Jones Amendment.
Okay, Vice Chair has moved the Jones Amendment. Senator Brooks seconds it. Put the bills in the same posture. All in favor of the amendment, Delegate Jones, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. We now have House Bill 1001 as amended in front of us. Favorable from the Vice Chair, second from Senator Brooks. Discussion. All in favor of House Bill 1001 as amended, raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Let's go to House Bill 1178, emergency bill. Stacy?
House Bill 1178, Municipalities Annexation Limitations. This emergency bill prohibits a municipality from annexing land that is located in a different legislative district than a legislative district in which all or part of the municipality is located without first notifying the members of the General Assembly for the district in which the land is located. After an annexation resolution is introduced, the municipality must provide written notice via electronic communication and the U.S. Postal Service to members of the General Assembly for the district in which the land is located. There is an amendment offered by Senator Kagan on page 81 with a reprint on page 83. This was the technical shift that moved it to section 4-406 versus 4-401.
Okay, we have a motion from the Vice Chair on amendment she has proffered. Yeah, we'll take questions. Senator Watson.
One sec.
By the way, we also have MML here if anybody had any questions, but Senator Watson.
Yeah, there were a lot of unfavorables on this, and I'm trying to understand what was the rationale of putting this bill in? What problem is it trying to solve? Do we know?
I don't know.
What is it?
Gallion?
Now, I may not be, from my perspective, if you have a municipality that is wanting to annex and expand right now, this would help allow some more notifications. So we have an issue in my district where a particular municipality is, expanding more and more. And what happens, they keep moving out and the county's on the hook for the schools and the roads and all that stuff. So getting this extra notification, I think, helps our counties and local communities.
But the counties would be on the hook for the schools anyway.
Yes, but now they're getting more, it's increasing the notification and who it's going to.
Why do they need notification, I guess is what I'm saying. So I have a little teeny tiny municipality called the town of Upper Marlboro, right? And they've been trying to grow and annex and try to eventually one day to become as big as Bowie, right? And the current requirement, the way I understand it, is that if property already exists there, there's a certain percentage of residents who have to sign on and say they agree to be annexed in. And then once they do that, then there is a share of responsibility split between the municipality and the county government. But that doesn't have anything to do with the schools at all.
So Watson, can I just inject one thing?
Yeah.
So MML was originally opposed, but now they're not opposed based on, I guess, some amendments. And I just to feel, because you cited there's unfavorable testimony, I just want to get a flavor of why MML shifted their position from opposition to not up. Maybe that might be helpful here.
Happy to try to provide some clarity on where it came from, how it changed, and why we are where we are. Originally, this bill came in as a consent bill. Oh, sorry, Justin Fiore on behalf of the Maryland Municipal League. Originally, this bill came in and it was talking about consent. So if a municipality was going to annex into another state legislative jurisdiction, there was some conversation about whether a legislator should have to consent to that happening to allow that annexation to move forward. MML and a lot of jurisdictions were understandably opposed to this. So the bill was changed to a notification process just to make sure that the delegation where the annexation is taking place is notified. We already have requirements to generally notify the public, to notify the county, and to notify any state or regional planning authorities. So adding another layer of notification to the General Assembly delegation is perfectly fine with us. We offered the amendment as kind of a technical amendment to put this requirement in the other notifications section, which is 4406, where again, we already have the procedure for public notice, county notice, and planning board
So
notice.
this is just notification, right?
This is, now as amended, it's just notification.
All right, I'm good.
And then back to the Kagan amendment, just to rehash, your amendment does what again? Just to refresh, because we have to take up your amendment first. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's a technical amendment to some, okay, so the vice chair moved her technical amendment. Is there?
Not a second yet.
I'm looking for a second. Yeah, second from Senator Watson. Okay, now we have the Kagan amendment in front of us. All in favor of the technical Kagan amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, the amendment carries. We now have 1178 as amended before us. Further questions for Stacy or MML or anybody else? Okay, 1178, all as amended, all in favor? Raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Let's go to Calvert County delegation, which I think we had a tremendous presentation from Senator Harris. The bill hearing, if I recall, was memorable. House Bill 1514.
So I'll explain the bill that didn't get explained yesterday. House Bill 1514, Calvert County officials and Board of Education salaries and benefits. This bill increases in Calvert County the salary and compensation of the President of the Board of Commissioners, a member of the Board of Commissioners, the President of the Board of Education, a member of the Board of Education, and the County Treasurer. Further, the bill authorizes the Treasurer, beginning with the term of office that begins on or after November 4th, 2026, to receive the same pension benefits as county employees. Finally, the bill authorizes the salary for the Calvert County State's Attorney to increase during the term of office to the extent the salary for a circuit court judge increases by repealing the provision specifying that any salary increase takes effect at the beginning of the elected term of office and may not increase during the term. Pursuant to constitutional requirements, the increases take effect at the beginning of the next terms of office. There's no amendments, and the committee has received a local letter.
Okay, is there a senator here who would like to move the bill? Okay, Senator Harris moves the bill. Is there a second from Senator Brooks? Discussion on the local bill. All in favor? House Bill 1514 clean. Raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries. Okay, was there any, Devin on, okay, we're good. Okay, so let's go back to House Bill 6, Senate Bill 420 conversation. I did, as I say, come back. Okay, yes, Senator Washington.
The Senate bill just passed the Appropriations Committee, conforming it to the House bill. So it'll be on second reader this afternoon. The texting, folks, I want to understand the concern. It seems like on page 3 of the House bill, House Bill 6, that it strikes here the definition of public senior high institution, and that it strikes that definition. If we restore that definition, of course, without the senior, in other words, you restore 3, get rid of senior, and define public higher education institution to exclude the University of Maryland Center Environmental Studies, the Global Campus, and the University of Baltimore, would that address the concern?
Having the definition of public senior higher education institution, that's what you have. I mean, if you want to extend it to include, I think what you said, community colleges, is that what you're trying to get? I think.
No, I'm trying to get to yes. All right, so.
I understand that. I'm trying to
I know-
understand what you're asking me to do.
I'm working it out. I don't know what I want exactly. I was hoping, working with you. So I'm looking at, you know, as the bill is currently drafted, the definition of, there's a public senior higher education, institution of education, right? Oh, sorry, line 25, everybody, so
So
line
if you're
20.
looking at page 3.
Page 3, line 25. So the House bill strikes all of that, so I get that. So that, you know, they were not included in the prior version of this bill. And so by the House version striking that, they are now, you know, everyone's included, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if we want to adjust the definition of public higher education for this subsection, allow the exclusion of the Center for Environmental Studies, so now I'm moving to page 4, lines 1 through 4, okay? And then it would have the constituent institutions of the University System of Maryland, and of course, 2 as Morgan and St. Mary's. And I guess we'd have to include 4 being community colleges.
So what you're looking to accomplish is just restoring it to current law, because public senior institutions means the constituent institutions of the USM,
Yeah.
plus Morgan State,
Right.
plus St. Mary's.
Right.
In this definition already, in existing law, it
Yeah.
says this does not include the 3 institutions that USM is asking to exclude. University of Maryland Center for Environmental Studies, a Global Campus, and University of Baltimore. Those were the ones that they asked to keep out because they don't have health centers.
I understand.
And they don't do part of the pregnancy plan. That was what they were asking.
Right, so that's what I said, was to.
We don't have to redefine it, we just have to take out the brackets.
all right, we're just using, I'm saying this, I'm sorry, I'm not speaking exactly, build whatever but I think that what I'm saying is clear, is that, now, my question is, if it says if it says senior higher education, in other words, if we keep the definition as it is, does it exclude community colleges?
Yes, community colleges are not included within public senior.
Correct.
Yes.
So for the purposes of this subsection, if we wanted to include community colleges,
It would be easier to say add community colleges than to try to redefine that word by playing around with it, because it's a definition that exists in the entire article. It's not just for this section.
I guess that's what my other, I was looking for the definition of public higher institution in another section of the article. Where is that?
It's in 10-101.
Okay, so in 10-101, it has that definition. Okay.
Okay.
So already in 10-, so if we use the words, if you use public higher education system, it's defined in 10-101?
All the definitions related to higher education are in 10-101.
Okay. I guess I missed that. I was looking for it. So if I could just see in 10-.
Okay, but Mayor, Senator Washington, the only thing is, I mean, if we're going to, because, we have other members, everybody, you're obviously knowledgeable about the bill because you were the cross file.
I'm not actually.
But we're just, can't talk, I don't want to free associate here too much. We have several.
I am not free associating.
Well,
I am looking at the law, and committee staff said that the definition that applies to the entire article is located somewhere. I'm just trying to see where that is located.
Okay.
So you said it is located in the educational article in section 10?
In Title 10,
Okay,
Section 10-101.
thank you. Hold on. Section 10 dash, okay.
Just
101.
weigh in as we're talking about this a little bit, just so other people may want to weigh in on some of this. I mean, respectfully,
So I just want to finish my thought, and then I'm looking for that.
So if you just tell me who you want, you can put it in an amendment. It doesn't have to be.
Well, no, I'm looking in the
Drafted
law, and I
here.
don't see it. That's what I'm saying, where in the law is the definition of public higher education?
while she's looking, can we at least get a Senator Simonaire, somebody else to,
So I've worked with Stacy a lot, and I think if you just say, this is what I want to exclude these three and add community colleges, she'll know how
Right.
to put that into legal language.
Yeah,
And you'll get your,
I also know when I'm looking at this section, and I don't see in the section, in the law.
This is an institution of higher education. Okay. Just add public before it.
But that's not, but existing law doesn't have that definition. Which is what I said, we'd have to change it. So,
It's not.
so.
I mean, it's, I
Okay,
don't
so
understand.
okay, we can't have a legal debate here.
It's not legal. I mean, I'm
Well,
really.
this is legal, this is statutory language. These
I
are
know,
legal
but I don't
questions, Senator
understand
Washington.
if I'm looking at the law, right? And then we want to, because institution of higher education that she pointed out, or that is pointed out, includes public, private, nonprofit, and for-profit. We don't want to do that. We don't have a definition in statute for public higher education. So that is what I'm saying. So we just have to put.
In many other bills, across many other parts of the article, if you wish it to only refer to public institutions of higher education,
Right.
you state that, because institutions of higher education is a defined term, and public modifies it to mean that it only applies to those institutions. So you don't have to redefine it, you just put it in there, because the definition exists, and it exists in understanding when you put public in front of that term. That is how it's drafted
Isn't that
throughout
what
the
I said?
article.
I mean, I said that we, do this definition, public higher education institution.
Okay, so trying to put this all together, because as a committee, we have 11 members. We have to take either votes. I mean, we have options here. I'm just trying to get to where we want to get to. You say you want to get to yes.
I'm trying to get to a yes, but when I'm getting to the House, but I was trying to, so I could tell there wasn't a feeling that to just pass it exactly as it is. So I was looking for, where the consensus would be, okay, if we narrow the definition to exclude what the system was asking for, and incorporate, and it could be a 3 or whatever, incorporate community colleges, then that solves the problem. And then we'll have an amendment, and I can tell Chairwoman Kaiser on the floor for them to do the same amendment to our bill, and then we're set. But
Okay, well, it's a good theory. If everything that you just said works beautifully on the, we're not in communication.
I am in communication
Okay.
with the chair. I am in communication with the chair, the
Okay.
vice chair of the Appropriations Committee. And I just asked, she says, yes, it's voted out. And I said, well, we want to keep, I'm trying to figure out how to negotiate this so we're not going to conference committee. So she's okay. So now I'm trying to tell her what we're going to do. So they get to keep which is what I want, but then we want to narrow. So our negotiation is like, okay, let's narrow what public higher education means in this bill. That's what I'm trying to get. And so for me, this definition, which I was just told is in the whole article, and I knew it wasn't in the whole article because I read the whole article. So since it's not there, either we put it in this subsection and define it how it means in this subsection. This isn't, the drafting of this would be, of the amendment would be to copy essentially 3 and 3I and simply strike senior. And then if we're doing a I1, 2, we do a 3I to say community colleges. And then we're done. We have an amendment that we can do and we can negotiate and share. So, yeah, it's easy.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I don't think anything's easy. We have to put language together in the form of an amendment that everybody understands before we take a vote. And I'm not sure everybody followed this back and forth. I mean, you may understand everything, but it may not be the case with everybody else. I mean, this is a committee. Okay, well.
But I do think people understand.
Okay. Who here, well, I'm the chair, let me ask you, who here is comfortable taking, conceptual votes or fully understands the back and forth between the bill we sent out the first time, the HB 6, the back and forth? I mean, I'm open-minded, I'm looking for some suggestions. We're a committee here, and
So if I were trying to bring it into layman's terms here, we're basically accepting the House version with this minor revision on the 3 schools that need to be out, correct? So I would support that.
Okay, I do need committee councils here. I don't know, when you say minor, I'm not quite sure how minor, what was described, how minor it is. I mean,
I know how to do that.
Huh?
I am perfectly capable of doing that.
Okay. Everything's easy and minor, but it's until it's not. Okay, I'm looking for, this is the last bill, and we got the floor at 4:30. Give me some feedback as a committee here. We have various options. We could, because all this is still going to have to go back to the House, because we're not taking HB 6 completely as is. So this is going to have to be some back and forth. Senator Washington is having some dialogue. I mean, I get all that. I'm just saying, not everybody is privy to the back and forth here, and we just need to fully understand what we're doing. Senator Simoner?
Yeah, I think the concept's relatively easy, and I think she can draft it. I think, bless her heart, Senator Washington just got into so much detail you're basically, as she says, keeping the House bill, taking out those 3 that are in current law, put them back in, and add community colleges, and that's the amendment, I believe.
And then, okay, does everybody fully understand what we just said? I mean, I really need to know that people understand before we're going to take this up. Okay, anything else, Stacy, just on the concept that we've outlined?
I would like to see it in writing. We've generally done that.
Well, the vice chair would like to see this in a form of amendment. Okay, here, how do we, I mean, I hate to play all lawyer here, but it's good to have a document in front of the committee. I mean, I know conceptual, verbal, back and forths over the telephone with the House is one thing. There is no substitute for an actual amendment. I mean, that's just my view. So, who would be supportive of Stacy drafting up an amendment? We take it up. We have to meet again tomorrow and vote. We're already meeting on the Wilkins bill. We're going to meet on several other bills, and concurrences. We got to meet tomorrow after session anyway. But I'd like to see a document here reflecting everything that was discussed here. And then we have it in front of us, and then we can have questions, and then we can take a vote and move forward.
I would be willing to come before floor, if floor is 11. I would be willing to do that.
Okay, well,
still.
okay, anybody else?
That's the will of.
Well, I want to be fair to everybody, but everybody, the whole committee. Senator, what's?
No, I mean, we have time.
Okay, Senator Harris? Okay, so let's see what time we're on the floor tomorrow. Let's, have some further conversation, get some more feedback from the House, Senator Washington, because if we're going to do it, I really would like to know from you that whatever we're doing is going to actually, they're going to concur on the other side, because there's some miscommunication. We've done this in the past, not with you. I'm just saying generally, it's nothing to do with you individually, that somebody says they're going to concur, you send it there, it's not concur. Well, let's just remove any ambiguity on all this stuff, okay? Okay, with that, we're going to hold this bill till tomorrow. Let's see what time we're in session, and then I'll make an announcement from the floor, and we'll take this up, some concurrences and a few other bills, and that's how I think we'll leave it, and we'll see you on the floor in a half hour. I have no idea. That's well. Okay.